Change of bowling once again for Zimbabwe in an attempt to try and stifle this momentum of Singapore. Ryan Burl with his first delivery coming up shortly in this match. He's had a bit of a mixed bag with the ball, hasn't he, so far?
He has picked up the crucial wicket of Timothy David the other night after being hit for a couple of maximums. What can he do here tonight? Tim's in the mood. So is Chandramohan at the other end. Two explosive batsmen out there in the middle.
He's found it between the two fielders. Beautifully done. One off his half century now, Surendran.
We've seen him not just take the aerial route. He is picking the gaps, dissects the fielders. Brilliant shot by Surendran and Chandramohan. It's been good all tournament, really. Got starts, hasn't made it count. Would like to build on this tonight when it matters. Final match of this Tri-Nation tournament here in Singapore.
Again, worked that nicely. That's fine as far as Singapore are concerned. And he gets his 50 as well. Very nicely done by Surendran. Gets the plaudits, but he knows he's got a bit of a job to do.
Striking the ball so well.
Oh, he almost created problems for himself there. I think he's a little frustrated. He didn't get that one away, Timothy David.
Just happy with the single. Knows Chandramohan what he can do.
That's better from Ryan Burl. Much better. Let's give it a little bit more air in that one.
He's come back strongly after being hit with that boundary earlier. Better line. Good flight. Almost had him there.
And not hit that cleanly. They've done well. Couple of runs and they've kept it ticking away. Still got 8 off this over, which actually, by recent standards, is not bad from Zimbabwe's point of view.
Good running. Very, very good running by the two batsmen.
One turn, just a tad at the end. Much better. End of the over, 82 for 1. So there's the scorecard, the partnerships rather. And even though Rohan really didn't get too stuck in, it was enough to get Surendran off the mark. Nice little platform they built up. And look at this partnership now between Surendran and Timothy David.
Yeah, and this was the partnership the other night against Nepal. Two batsmen out there in the middle, exceptional. And this partnership is key. If Zimbabwe can get a breakthrough here, and they have one eye set on the rest of the batsmen who have got starts, no more dangerous than these two out there in the middle.
Yeah, once again, they're going to have to look at their bowlers, looking for answers. William Mashinge is on. Now he just got his cap the other day from one of our commentators, Tino Moyo. proud moment for both of them, I think.
Tough conditions to make your debut as well out here in Singapore.
Yeah, they're under the cosh a little bit, Zimbabwe. This has, of course, the series has made headlines around the world after that stunning result from Singapore.
Yep, the world of cricket is certainly watching this. As Singapore pulled off an incredible result the other night on Sunday. They beat Zimbabwe by 4 runs. It's quite the comeback, particularly from Janak, Prakash and Sidhant. Young paces.
Well, you got a bird's eye view there of Surendran approaches the ball. Very little to no movement of his feet whatsoever. Just relies on hand-eye coordination, timing. Not a single for his troubles. Trying to create room for himself there. And he's done well, Timothy David. Worked it onto the onside for 4.
Absolutely clubbed that, did Timothy David. Was watching from the other end for a while as Surendran got to move on. Now he's decided that he wants to join the party.
Hard to say Mashinge was bowling quite well. Gone the other way. Like that. Out to the square boundary. He's not been as explosive as we've seen him, Timothy David. He hasn't needed to be at the moment because he's got surrender and is happy to take that on, and therefore the responsibility, maybe for once, not necessarily on him. And that might be quite good for Timothy David.
We saw that the night when he captained Singapore against Nepal. You saw that he likes to build his innings, watch from the other end, and then he times his innings to perfection, knows when to get a move on. It's those big 6s. It'll be a nice little test for him, though.
Well, I used the word gamesmanship earlier. You just saw the way Surendran was sort of moving around before the ball was delivered. It's keeping everyone guessing, isn't it? That's about the most feet movement you'll see from him.
Exactly, a nice little shuffle there from Surendran. Yeah, he doesn't use his feet a lot. All about the elevation. Just loves to hit the ball. It goes again.
Yeah, he went for it again. He did that little shuffle. Hasn't made it all the way for 6, but he does get a 4. 9 overs gone. 93 for 1, Singapore. So, Zimbabwe there, plenty of different bowling options. 7 of them so far. And they've all gone for quite a few, I'm afraid. And we can add another one to that. Mutombodzi has been carted away for another 6, this time by Timothy David.
I did say he likes to take his time, build an innings, but he is striking it. Getting a move on. Big 6. Big 6 from Tim.
Oh, dear. Not a great delivery at all. And that is the treatment it got. Totally got that wrong. Now the towel in play, of course. It's something bowlers love to use. Quite often the culprit.
Conditions out here as well, you know, humidity. Ball does get a bit wet. Full toss.
Again, it's just not been a very good over. That's excellent fielding. Well, that really should have gone for 4. That kind of delivery, that's all it deserved. But he's got away with that one. Well, saved a few runs there, didn't they, Zimbabwe? But Mutombodzi's been getting the treatment here. 12 off 3 balls already. Again, it's just short. And I think if I'm Tim David, I'm probably a little frustrated.
His eyes light up there for a minute. Could only move it away for a single.
This partnership already worth 82 of 39 balls. Well, he went very, very wide of the crease. And you'll say, look, I've brought the runs back down again towards the end of this over. But he's not bowling well at all, I've got to say.
Timmy has his eye in over here. Cuts that away. 4 more. 4 more. Not a good over for Mutombodzi. End of the 10th, Singapore 111 for 1.
Well, I think Adrian is going to go and recover for a bit from what he's just seen, and we'll bring Nav into the commentary position. And that is not good reading, is it? When you look at the economy rates as well.
Well, I'll tell you something. The head coach Lalchand Rajput and the bowling coach Douglas Hondo are certainly going to be taking down some pointers, because this has been the most erratic and wayward display of bowling we've seen in the entire tournament. Unfortunately, Zimbabwe have just not been up to the mark. And I'll tell you something. Tim Davids, Surendra Chandramohan are putting on an absolute treat for a very good crowd that you can see on your screen right now that have turned up for final evening.
That's absolutely right. It is a treat, isn't it? And we don't want to take anything away from the way they're batting, but the bowling has certainly not helped.
Well, a wild swing and he misses Chandramohan. He was eyeing the mid-wicket region for another 6. Daniel Jakiel didn't have the best start to this game. Conceded 15 in his first over. And he wasn't the only one that these 2 batsmen haven't spared. They've all gone to the cleaners.
And surprising as well, Nav, given what happened in that last game between these 2 sides. You'd think they'd be far more determined. Went for the slower one, so wide again.
And they've bowled short more often than not. It hasn't helped, because this is the pitch that has batting written all over it. Batting paradise, and we can see how it's coming onto the bat. They just haven't bowled full enough.
One boundary away from his 50, Tim David. Chance here, perhaps. Stopped right in front of the side screen there. He'll have to wait just a little bit longer. But I suppose you'd say, decent start as far as figures are concerned. This over for Jakiel.
Well, you don't want to speak too early. Another good-looking shot there from Surendra Chandramohan, just the single on this occasion. Sean Williams will be happy. He will take 3 out of 4 in the context of the situation. Like you said, Ches, this certainly is a good over. I was just taking a stroll a few overs ago, and it's fantastic to see the kind of turnout that we're having on a Thursday evening. Obviously, home team playing some of the biggest superstars in Singapore sport, and the fact that they're putting on a wonderful display of batting isn't gonna.
Another slower one. He's done that a couple times here. Yeah, look, yeah, absolutely right. And I think the media here, we don't always give cricket perhaps its due respect, because it is a minority sport. It is very niche in Singapore. And look, people have woken up a little bit since Singapore got that result. It has mobilized people to come down, and on social media, people have been urging everyone else to make their way down to the IA ground here. This is turning out to be fairly decent from Jakiel. Can he continue?
There's a chance there at long on, and goes down the throat of long on there. Good catch. And how badly did Zimbabwe need that? Daniel Jakiel, on what was a good over, has finally been rewarded with the big wicket of Tim Davids. Good catch that. That was hit very hard and flat.
Yeah, he needed to take that, didn't he? Absolutely did. And, well, it just goes to show you, when you apply yourself in the bowling, you're going to get the rewards. Very simple. And Jakiel has persevered, took some stick in the opening over.
Just 3 conceded in that over, Shez. Best over of the innings, 114 for 2 at the end of 11. And it looks like there's going to be a change in the batting lineup as well. It's Aritra Dutta who's going to be making his way to the center to give Surendra Chandramohan company. Surendran's seeing this ball as big as a football, 60 of 37. And if there is a loose ball on offer, which we've seen plenty of this evening, Chandramohan is accepting them very gladly.
I just want to go back to the fact that Jakiel applied himself a little bit there. It wasn't rocket science, but he varied it a little bit, kept line and length. The length has been not great tonight, and it's got his rewards. I just wonder now the other bowler's going to see that. Ryan Burl had some decent moments in that first over.
Well, the wickets in a series as Ryan Burl. Swing and a miss. What is a good target, Shez, on 180 in the 18 overs in the previous game?
Absolutely.
This is going over 200.
I was just about to say, I think we're going to look at over 200 here. She's got to look at over 200. Didn't hit that at all. And a bit of frustration amongst the Zimbabweans.
Well, with Timothy Davids back in the dugout, Surendra Chandramohan would probably want to be a little sensible here. They rely a lot on their top 3 to Singapore. And with Rohan Rangarajan and Timothy Davids now back in the dugout, the onus is going to be on Chandramohan. And the longer he stays, the better it is for Singapore.
Aritra Dutta has been given the responsibility today. That's tossed up a bit, isn't it, from Burl? That's like it.
Nice little passage of play here for Zimbabwe. The last 10 balls have conceded just 4 runs, and they've obviously got the big wicket of Tim Davids as well. Is this the shift in momentum that they were looking for? There you go, another dot ball, very disciplined, and that is what a wicket can do.
The
And
reaction.
suddenly there's a new batsman there. It's going to take time to get used to conditions, the bowlers. Before you know it, in a T20 game, it's funny, but things can change very quickly.
Just saw the reaction of the keeper there. How close that could have been. Yeah, he's just not getting it off the square at the moment, isn't he? And end of the over, 115 for 2. So there's the scorecard for Singapore. 2 batsmen have really done a lot of damage so far. Timothy David and Surendran, who's facing. Just wonder whether Mashinge, again, anticipated, saw that little shuffle. Frees his arms up. Surendran gets the 4. Again, not a clean hit.
Doesn't matter how they come, as long as they come, and Surendra Chandramohan. A few. A bit intentional, you'd probably have to say. Used to motor along, does Chandramohan.
Sehwag-esque, that one, wasn't it? Absolutely slices it down that side, and little foot movement from him. As you say, it doesn't matter how he gets them.
Just credit to the Singapore Cricket Association for making this tournament happen. You don't often get the Singapore fans to have the opportunity to come and watch their superstars, their cricketing stars in action, and especially in the global T20 qualifiers, and then that massive historic result against Zimbabwe just goes to show, one, the growing interest of the game, and an opportunity like this, a tournament like this, giving the fans something to cheer about.
Yeah, spot on. You know, this has really been, the last few months have been very, very special for Singapore cricket, and there's a feeling they're on the cusp of something quite magnificent. They can continue the momentum.
Well, it's all or nothing for Surendra Chandramohan right now. It's hit or miss, and he is shying away from swinging his bat, swinging his willow. He's done that to good effect so far. 64 of 42, and he tries one again.
Just notice how he kicks his leg up, almost like a wind-up to give himself that momentum to smash that ball. He's doing it again. Now, he's doing that more and more. Can't be good for any bowler seeing that for a start. Look at that. You're guessing. You're kicking that foot up there. Where am I going to plant it? You know, that's also a little hint for a bowler, isn't it? No one's going to like seeing that.
Make some sort of contact there. Just straight to long on this time, though. Just a single.
You know, now with these kind of batsmen, you're not going to coach them anything new now. They have their way. It's unorthodox. You've just got to let them do their thing. You've got to accept it, I suppose. It can be frustrating, of course. But when they're on song, like Surendran is here, it's very, very difficult to bowl against them. There's 3 legal deliveries so far in this over. 7 off it. Aritra Dutta's Not looked particularly comfortable so far since his introduction.
Well, the fact that they were going at 11 to the over for the first 10 overs, Shez, they will take this because they've conceded just 12 in the last 2.4 overs. And in the context of this game, slowly and steadily, Zimbabwe coming back into this game.
That's positively strangulation by the rest of the standards of this match, isn't it? So they'll take it, just as you said. Let's see these last couple of deliveries, though. That's what you got to do. And I don't think they varied it enough. They varied it, but it's not been on the pitch. It's been short, it's been wide. They've not kept him guessing enough. With someone like Surendran, you've got to be doing a lot more slower balls. You've got to roll your fingers off it.
Just goes to show that despite it being a batting paradise, if you can vary it a bit, you can change things up a bit, the more you keep the batsman guessing, the more difficult it is going to get to score freely. Wide signaled. This is the third wide in this over. So Mashinge, well, is quite disappointed. I'm not too sure with what. Probably with the umpire's call there.
Yeah, he shook his head and he pointed at the umpire. Wasn't happy at all, was he?
Will one of the key factors be keep Dutta on strike?
Absolutely. You'd think so. Yeah, they'll be happy with that. He gets a single. They're fine. That'll suit Zimbabwe. Singapore, 126 for 2 off 13.
Right, we're back live. You're watching pictures of the final game of the Singapore Tri-Nations T20I, brought to you by Instagram, on what has been an evening that has been dominated by the Singapore batsmen. Surendra Chandramohan not out 65 of just 44 deliveries, and Tim Davids tonked it a bit earlier on as well, 47 of 23, but it's a little passage of play that has belonged to Zimbabwe the last 3 overs, and they would want to continue that. From the far end, it's going to be Mutombodzi.
Well, he's got his first run, finally, Aritra. That might just help his confidence. It wasn't the best run in the world. Don't think he's going to mind at the moment. But Mutombodzi's gone for a fair few, hasn't he, earlier on. First time in this game that we are under 10 and over for Singapore.
Suddenly there's some spin on offer. Well, we didn't see this all day. That was because they just kept bowling it short. They didn't give themselves an opportunity to turn the ball, but Mutombodzi, well,
where was this earlier on? Much better from him. He won't mind that. I just get the impression Surendra's beginning to feel that pressure on him because they're just not ticking away anymore, are they? Trying to force the issue.
Absolutely, and certainly Aritra Dutta is under pressure, 1 of 6 deliveries. And that's what pressure can do to you. Well, it's going to make you do funny things, unnecessary from Dutta there. You don't want to be doing that right now. The only thing on his mind should be to give support to Chandramohan.
Look, he's barely hitting it normally, let alone trying to reverse it and sweep it.
There's a chance there at long off. Well, it just falls right in front of him. That's Peter Moor at long off.
Got to say, there's been a fair few misfields already in this innings from Zimbabwe. They're much better than that.
Well, they did well enough to come back for 2 runs, though. But it's still another good over for Zimbabwe. This is the 4th in the row. Just 4 of the 4 deliveries, 5 deliveries so far. They'll take that any day of the week.
try to get room for himself. It hasn't been good so far from Aritra. He's struggled. Singapore, 130 for 2 off 14. So Singapore got off to a very good start, despite the early dismissal of Rohan Rangarajan. And, well, since the dismissal of Timothy David, they've slowed right down, haven't they, Nav?
Well, 19 in the last 4 overs, 16 in the last 3 overs, and the wicket of Timothy David. Zimbabwe will be very happy with how they're coming back in this game. And very rightly so, their premier fast bowler, Tendai Chatara, comes back on. Oh, Chandramohan takes him big. That is very, very high. There's a fielder there at long off. This will be sensational. And guess what? Oh, Wellington Masakadza is it at long off. Pulls off an absolute stunner. That went really, really high up in the air. But he held his nerve. And this has to be one of the best catches we've seen. Talk us through that, Shez.
Well, I mean, God, he's got a fielder running right at him as well. He kept his head. Still, there was contact sliding in, and he kept his eye on the ball, and it is a massive, massive catch. A big wicket there. Surendran goes, and Singapore, now their progress really has halted.
Right, we're back live with pictures from the Indian Association here in Singapore, and we certainly have a game on. This is the final game. Mind you, the team that wins this match will end up right at the top of the table and will take home the Winners' Cup. It started off with Singapore dominating Zimbabwe for the first 10 overs, but we certainly have a game on our hands because Zimbabwe are coming back in this very, very quickly. And one thing that... Oh, chance there. Well, a direct hit. Up goes the finger. Well, Singapore, this is a little mini collapse here. Unnecessary, you'd probably have to say. And Aritra Dutta was shot thanks to a remarkable piece of fielding there. Zimbabwe are turning it on the field suddenly now.
Well, he was struggling, wasn't he, Aritra Dutta? Not just to get to the other end, but generally. And that pressure really beginning to tell on Singapore, wasn't it? After the dismissal of Surendran, Manpreet Singh has just come in. 2 brand new batsmen. This is perfect for Zimbabwe now.
Right, Shez. Everything's happening here at the center, here at the Indian Association. But tell me something. I didn't quite understand this experiment from Singapore to bring in Aritra Dutta. These 2 batsmen, Manpreet Singh has been amongst the runs in almost every single game. We know what Janak Prakash can do with the bat. He's a good hitter. They should have just continued with that because it basically has disrupted this flow.
Absolutely, the rhythm there. Why fix it if it ain't broke? Chatara now coming in, steaming in. And they just need a little period of stabilization, and then they've got to go for their shots. But It was all going so well for Singapore, wasn't it? We were talking scores of 200 at one point, and they've reined it right back in here. Very good start to this over for Tendai Chatara. Can he continue it? And this is, to be honest, what we thought the match would be like. A bit more like this, these last few overs. Tight affair.
Well, this is what confidence and shift in momentum can do. And suddenly, Zimbabwe are starting to land the ball in the right areas. Good line, good length. And there's a spring in their stride. Funny, this game of T20 cricket, it can change so very quickly, and the pressure seems to be on Singapore now.
Do you know what? This, you've got to say, got to give credit to Zimbabwe. They have played cricket at the highest levels. This is what they're all about. They know they can turn the screws. Singapore, T20 internationals only for the last few months. They're still getting into their rhythm. They've got some great results, but they're inexperienced at this level. It's tough, and Zimbabwe now are really trying to make that advantage count.
Absolutely. Well, Sean's going to be telling his boys, we've conceded just 21 in the last 5 overs. We're going to try to concede, restrict them to maybe 160, 165. Well, short on this occasion, there is a fielder in the deep, but mid-wicket cuts that off. And from 200, suddenly 160, 170, Zimbabwe will definitely take that. 15 overs completed, 133 for 4. Right, we're back live, down to the final quarter of the first innings. 15 overs completed, and to bowl the 16th from the pavilion end, or in fact the far end, it is going to be Ryan Burl. A change in the commentary box, it's going to be Adrian and Tino to see it through the first innings.
Been good with the ball today, Ryan Burl. Thank you very much, Nav. Looks like the googly. And last delivery, 133 for 4. Are Singapore at the moment. Zimbabwe's done extremely well over the last couple of overs to rein them back in, looking really good recently. Oh, that's a big googly, it'll be called wide. Adrian, welcome back.
Good evening, Tino. Good to be back. Brilliant last over by Chatara, getting the crucial wicket of Chandramohan. It's looking dangerous. As I mentioned before, a little mini collapse happening. Aritra Dutta coming in ahead of Manpreet Singh.
Cut away nicely. Wellington Masakadza. Sorry, Tony Munyonga. That is at backward point on the boundary, cleaning up. Zimbabwe have done extremely well to get themselves back into a decent position. They need to make sure that they don't let it slip now. Still wickets in hand for Singapore. What's good for Zimbabwe is that they've got 2 new men at the crease. Manpreet saying just the 5 deliveries. Janak, Prakash, 1. We know how dangerous they both can be. Got to stay on the ball, Zimbabwe, for these last 4 and a bit overs.
Funny, Graham, is T20 cricket. I mean, we're talking scores of 200 plus, but Zimbabwe have done really well to pull things back. And 2 new batsmen out in the middle. Dangerous, but nice little spell here from Zimbabwe. Really cut off the runs ever since Tim David departed.
look for two. I think it'll just be one. Wellington Masakadza very quick across the ground. Got a good strong arm. Ball to go in the over. Couple of balls to go in the over. Second one was a wide actually. 5 from it. Closing up the overs will be very important now for Zimbabwe, especially when they've had a decent one as they have so far. Opening up the over, closing up the over of extreme importance. Likes the slog sweep. Manpreet Singh plays it well.
We saw how difficult it was for Zimbabwe the other night. The final overs. It's hard to get runs away. In Singapore. And going through that same phase. 16 overs done. Singapore 140 for 4.
Daniel Jakiel back into the attack from the pavilion end. He's going to look to improve on his figures so far. Been rather expensive today. Crowd's been good. Best crowd so far in this interim tri-series. You can expect that after that record-breaking victory by the host Singapore over Zimbabwe in the first round match. This is the eastern side of the Indian Association ground here in Singapore. The western side is just as packed. Really wonderful to see people coming out and enjoying T20 international cricket. Good Yorker. If he can ensure that he stays in that area, Daniel Jakiel, Sean Williams will be very, very happy.
Absolute peach of a delivery there by Daniel Jakiel. You can see that the captain now has got his bowling options in order. We saw Chatara, the last over, brilliant. Daniel Jakiel. Zimbabwe pulled it back well. Need a good finish.
In the air, won't carry to the man down at long off. Just the one. A bit wide from Daniel Jakiel. It looked like the batsman was thinking of going straight down the ground. Manpreet Singh found the ball was wide. Couldn't quite go through the offside. He probably would have got a bit more value for his runs.
Janak Prakash was the hero the other night. Singapore scripted a famous win over Zimbabwe. A lot of work to do here tonight. Manpreet Singh as well. Excellent with the bat the other night. Likes to play his shots. These two men out of the middle now are key for the hosts. They had to get to that 180 mark at least. And even 180 the other night we saw was just defended.
In 18 overs as well.
Slow ball, but that would be wide. Looks a good find, Daniel Jakiel. Hit down the ground, but only a single. Not getting the runs away, are they, Singapore? Really hard to get any sort of purchase from the wicket now.
He's come back well, Daniel Jakiel. 3 singles from 4 balls so far in the over, plus a wide. I'll reiterate again the fact that I mentioned in the last over, Adrian, that it's important to close off the over well. They get a boundary here. They're getting 7 plus 8 in the over, which they'll be happy with. Beautifully bowled, wonderful slow ball from Jakiel. Great control. Really has come back well in this 3rd over, putting the pressure back on the Singapore batsman.
The boundaries have certainly dried up since Tim David and Chandramohan departed. Zimbabwe have done really well to pull this game back. Looks like we're watching feels like we're watching a completely different game to what we saw in the first half. And those 2 big hitters were out there in the middle.
Good comeback. Very, very good over under the circumstances from Daniel Jakiel. End of the 17th. Just 5 runs from that over, 145 for 4.
Back live, Singapore 145 for 4 after 17 overs. Ryan Burl to finish his quota. Well bowled.
Stifled appeal from the Zimbabwean keeper, Richmond Mutumbami. Bit of purchase. You can expect some to continue in the 2nd innings of this game. In the air, Ryan Burl, and just evades the man, William Mashinge, at backward point. It's nicely bowled. Just gave it a bit of air away from the batsman, made him have to reach out for that. He's been really good in terms of his economy today, Ryan Burl. 4 overs to go in his spell of 4 overs, just 16 off him. In the air, and just short of Wellington, Masakadza on the deep mid-wicket boundary. And he does well to make sure that they just get 1. Singapore.
Oh, there was going to be a mix-up there. Wanted the 2nd run, but got sent back. Ryan Burl's been really, really good in this tournament with the ball and the bat.
In the air, and gone. That's a good catch from PJ Moor. Wouldn't have been difficult to judge that one in the air. Had to dive forward as that was just dropping before him. Looking for that extra cover gap at the boundary. And that's a really good catch. Another good catch in this innings by the Zimbabwean fielders. Good time to get a wicket for them. Man to go. Manpreet Singh. The total now 147 for 5.
Back live, Singapore 147 for 5. Dangerous Manpreet Singh has just made the walk back to the pavilion. Ooh, great delivery. He's got his line and length perfect in this over, Ryan Burl. Economical. Just 17 runs from 3.5 overs he's given. Ooh. Just over the man's head. Goes for 6. Janak Prakash.
That's a good shot. And I think he's got a hand to that. Regis Chakabva, but clears the boundary. 18 gone, 153 for 5.
Much needed 6 there from Janak Prakash. The boundaries had dried up once the big hitters had gone back. New man in, Navin Param. As Tendai Chatara, Zimbabwe's premium fast bowler, comes back into the attack.
Just gone through the man at 45. Looking to play that scoop shot over that man. I think it's a slow ball from Chatara. Otherwise, if it was normal pace delivery, definitely would have gone. Yeah, it was. He slowed that up, rolled the fingers over the top of the seam. That's why there wasn't any momentum for that ball to go past that man at 45.
Unorthodox, but effective. Chatara's been brilliant tonight. In the air. And gone. It's out of here. Janak Prakash once again. Huge 6.
Commentator's curse. Adrian, this is a good shot by Janak Prakash. Chatara, this time opting for a shorter in length delivery. Janak Prakash was expecting that. He's cleared the boundary behind the bowler with ease. Good shot. Takes him to 160 now. Slowly coming back into the game. Singapore.
Not only good with the ball, but quite handy with the bat as well. An all-rounder that Singapore loves right now. Janak Prakash. 18 off 10. Getting a move on here. As Chatara comes back in. Where does he go here? Swings and misses.
I think he's lucky to get away with that, Chatara, because that's a length ball. That's the shot he should have been playing. At least the plane with the bat over the offside. He tried to go over the onside, and that's why he didn't get any bat on it.
Down the ground will only be a single. I was talking to the Singapore captain, Amjad Mahboob, out in the middle earlier, talking about their previous result on Sunday night against Zimbabwe, where he said he wanted the boys to play fearless cricket. They did that night, and they're showing what, they're made of. The world of cricket is watching them, particularly ahead of the qualifiers later, which are coming up, the T20 qualifiers. There's a lot more attention on Singapore now.
Wonderful delivery. Perfect Yorker from Chatara. He'll want to put one more of those in. Doesn't want to miss the length to Janak Prakash.
Nice to see the crowd there. Little wave from the man out there. Goes for a heave, only a single.
Good finish to the over by Tendai Chatara. Right in the block over those last couple of deliveries. And brings us to the end of the 19th over. Singapore 163 for 5.
Big crowd that's coming tonight. Obviously, the home nation playing in what is the equivalent of a final against Zimbabwe. We saw what they did on Sunday night. Nice to see a crowd turn up on a Thursday night here.
Well, you can tell me about crowds and turning up on what kind of nights. This is my first time in Singapore covering cricket. And I'll tell you what, the crowds have been pretty impressive. In the first couple of days that Singapore played, we had good numbers. But today has been fantastic. The crowd has pulled in. It's wonderful to see this for cricket in Singapore. I'll bet their victory against Zimbabwe in the first round game has a lot to do with the number of people that have come out this evening. Jakiel, the ball to last.
Yeah, certainly a lot more attention on Singapore cricket, as I mentioned earlier. Big crowd out here on a weekday. But great to see international cricket in Singapore. We've been treated to a great week of cricket here. Nepal, Zimbabwe, and the host Singapore. Brilliant hitting. I mentioned Masakadza, Tim David, Sean Williams. It's the third time he's tried to do that, Navin Param. Unorthodox, but just can't get it away. Seems to be falling over every time he does that. Reminds me of Rishabh Pant. Unorthodox, but getting nothing from it. Has a quick chat with Janak Prakash. Only 4 balls. Well, should be only 4 balls left in the innings.
Slow ball, he's waited well for that. Because it's slow, not able to get a lot of momentum into the shot. Good work by the two Zimbabwean fielders at long off and long on, working together. Looks to me like Brian Chari and Ryan Burl keeping the squeeze on these Singapore batsmen. 2 runs from the first 3 balls in this final over of Singapore's 20.
Looking for 2. Will be tight. Gone.
Janak trying to get back on strike so he can take advantage of these last couple of deliveries. Good fielding from Brian Chari, running wide to his left at long off. Good 1 bounce throw into the keeper. Zimbabwe will be happy to see the end of him. The score now 165 for 6.
Back live now. We told Sean Williams at the end of the 10th over that Zimbabwe would be able to restrict Singapore below 180. Tino, he would have been very proud of his boys.
Absolutely. That's Good thinking from Richard Mutumbami. That's the beauty of T20 cricket, isn't it? The game can be swayed so often in one innings. Sidhant, the new man in. And we've seen this throughout some of the games that we've had here. You look at the game that Singapore beat Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe at one stage looked like they were cruising in that second innings to chase down the total. Ended up falling 4 short. You always got an opportunity in this version of the game. Get a couple of quick wickets, which Zimbabwe did manage to do to pull back the Singapore batsman. Last ball of the 20. In the air, man back, and a good catch taken by Tony Munyonga on the boundary. So wicket to end the innings for Zimbabwe, and a really good fight back with the ball. Slower ball again from Jakiel, and goes straight to the man on the cover boundary. Zimbabweans a bit more energetic than they were halfway through this innings. Sean Williams will lead his troops off with much better feeling than he did a bit earlier on in the innings. But 166, Zimbabwe will feel if they can go about their innings like they did a couple of evenings ago against the same opposition. They should be able to get across the line. Wickets in hand will be key.
Great comeback by Zimbabwe. Getting the right wickets, getting crucial wickets at the right time. Tendai Chatara leading from the front. Great wickets. One stage we thought that Singapore would get about 200. Great fight back. The crucial wickets of Timothy David and Chandramohan. Janak Prakash got going and sacrificed his wicket, coming back for a quick second, but needed big hits towards the end. Boundaries did dry up. And Zimbabwe will be very happy with this, particularly their captain, Sean Williams. He's had a great series as we have a quick look at the scorecard. Surrender and Chandramohan led from the front, 66 from 47. Timothy David, great partnership between the two, 47 23. Janak Prakash with a nice 21. Wellington Masakadza, pick of the bowlers, 1 for 14. Daniel, Jakiel, and Tendai Chatara, Burl as well, all chipping in. Wicket apiece. As Zimbabwe now require 167 in their 20 overs. We'll join you back here in about 10 minutes from now for the run chase.
Hello, welcome back to the Singapore Tri-Nation T20 International Series 2019, powered by Instarem. It's the last match of the tournament. Zimbabwe up against the host Singapore. Singapore putting up just shy of 170 after a terrific start from skipper Timothy David, Chandramohan, the opener. But once those two batsmen went, in fact, actually was after the dismissal of David, it all started going Zimbabwe's way. And they've brought it right back, haven't they, Nav?
Yeah, absolutely. When you concede just 55 in the last 10 overs, taking 5 wickets, you probably say you have the momentum going into the second half. And that's exactly the case, probably. Start proceedings for Singapore. It's going to be the captain, Amjad Mahboob. He is going to be the key man for Singapore. And he will need to do a few things. One of it will have to be to get rid of Peter Moor, because he looked very impressive in the little that we saw of him the other evening. And what he will also have to do is somehow figure out how to see the back of Sean Williams, because he's been in prolific form in this tournament.
The captains have really stood up in this tournament, haven't they? They've been magnificent. Amjad these days cut down his run-up, cut down his pace. Veteran of this side. Look at that, nice to see. And yeah, just talking around the camp, and it's very clear that Timothy David has really been a galvanizing force. He's only joined Team Singapore very recently, but his influence on the team has been massive.
The batting order certainly pivots around Timothy David. And we can see why. A remarkable batsman. He's played a bit of T20 cricket around the world as well. He's had a stint with the Big Bash League. And it looks like it's going to be Peter Moore off the mark. Or is it going to be a leg bye? Yes, a leg bye signal by the umpire. So Peter Moore will have to come back again to get off the mark. Amjad Mahboob, you mentioned that he's cut down on his pace, his run-up. But he's a wily old customer, isn't he? Very smart cricketer. Very often he relies on the variations in pace to do the trick.
Yeah, Regis Chakabva now facing, and you're right, variation so important. Squares up to that. Oh, that should never be two. And a little fumble. Dutta has not been a fantastic 45 minutes for him, has it, so far? I like the nice use of feet there, getting another single. Listen, again, we say not an insurmountable score, 168. They can get this, and they can get it comfortably without having to play anything silly.
And Shez, you know what? I'm finding it hard to understand if this score is good enough, because in the first 10 overs, it was poor bowling that led Singapore scoring so many runs. But once they got their radar right, they came back into this game, which means should you vary your pace, there is something on offer for sure, right? So does that mean 166 or 167 is enough? Well, only time will tell. We come to the end of the first over, and Zimbabwe 4 for no loss.
Zimbabwe. With a nice positive start, nothing untoward. Working the singles. Janak Prakash to get Singapore going at the other end. I was about to say he's bowled very well in this series so far. Starts off with a wide though.
The exciting young talent is Janak Prakash. He's quick, he's exciting, and can certainly trouble the batsman with some pace and bounce. Future prospect for Singaporean cricket. He's exciting with the bat in hand as well.
Absolutely. The inherent problem we have here in Singapore is, for any sport really, top-level sportsman, is national service. And work that well. Everyone liable to serve that. All boys aged 18 have to serve 2 years. It was 2.5 in my time. And yeah, you get to play on weekends and if you're lucky, in the evenings as well. So it really is about when you can get in to train. You're not having that intensity that top-level sportsmen really should be having. These are the formative years. These are the important years. And that's, I think, a handicap really at this level. So for him to be performing like this and what he's done so far is remarkable.
It's a good steady start from Zimbabwe thus far. They don't want to do anything stupid, nothing out of the ordinary. All you want to do is string a little partnership here, get things moving, because you know you have batsmen to come. The captain, Sean Williams, has been in outstanding form. Ryan Burl's been in good form. Well, you have Mutumbami, Mutombodzi. So they certainly have plenty to come. But a good partnership right at the very top is going to do them no harm.
Nice delivery. That's more like it from Janak Prakash. It's been a much steadier start for Singapore than it was at this stage in the first innings for Zimbabwe when they were bowling.
Yeah, Zimbabwe were all over the place right from the get-go. Shaz, there is no final for this Tri-Nations. This is the final game. So the winner of this match will end up with the Winners' Cup, because at the moment it is 3 points for Singapore and 4 points for Zimbabwe. So the team that wins this will take home the Winners' Cup. Very unfortunate for Nepal not to get their last game in.
Yeah, that one was shared points, wasn't it? It was an awful day of weather. Very unlike what we have in Singapore. You don't have constant drizzle. You get a shower and then it stops. Maybe another shower later on, but I think we were commenting on how it reminded us of the UK. It was just miserable drizzle pretty much the whole day. It took in a lot of water. So a lot of credit to the ground staff of Singapore Indian Association and Singapore Cricket Association to get this back to a decent playing state. It's drained off very nicely. You can't tell really that it's taken in that much water.
That was pacey from Janak Prakash. Well, the umpire says, unfortunately, that's a little too wide. That was quick, and you could see the carry all the way to the keeper. Have a look at where Manpreet Singh collects that, well over his head. Just an indication of how exciting this talent is, Janak Prakash from Singapore. Shaz, we were around for at least 3 hours yesterday, hoping for a game to start, and the rain just wouldn't stop.
It really wouldn't. That's why I was saying it was just hugely unusual. And that must have been frustrating for Nepal. They had built up expectations there.
Well, you are in line, you are in length, and you're going to get punished. That's exactly what happened there. At your pace, at Janak Prakash's pace, he has to get it right. On this occasion, drifting down the leg side, and all Peter Moor had to do is get a little bit of bat on that, and that raced away past the short fine leg 4 runs.
Yeah, he'll take that any day, won't he? Peter Moore finally gets off the mark as well.
Well, he hit a few lost shots over the boundary 2 nights ago. He certainly is no mug with the bat. He's a big man, very similar to Tim Davids.
Absolutely. End of the over, Zimbabwe, 11 for no loss after 2. Amjad Mahboob, the Singapore skipper, to continue at the club end. I can tell you, by the way, in the crowd, we have got cricketing royalty. I'm not sure you might see him in the background there.
Got to figure out how we get a glimpse of him on camera. We got to get a production crew.
Tell you what, we're going to keep you guessing for a bit. We're not going to reveal who's here. Let's see if we can get a shot.
Well, let's try to get them guessing. In fact, that is right.
Yeah.
So what you can do is figure out who's present at the Indian Association here in Singapore. Hint number 1, let me just say that he's a left-handed batsman. And we'll keep you guessing. I'd love to hear who you think is at the ground. So drop in your entries at hashtag Singapore Tri Nation, hashtag SINVZIM, hashtag Singapore v Nepal, Singapore v Zimbabwe. Yeah, so hashtag Singapore Tri Nation, hashtag SINVZIM. Let us know who you think is present here at the Indian Association. He is as good as they come, a left-handed batsman.
I mean, we've just narrowed it down to, about 25% of all international batsmen.
All right, I'm happy narrowing this down
Come
for
on, let's do this. Let's help them out a little bit more.
Let me say that he's from Australia, a left-handed batsman from Australia. Yeah, obviously a former Australian cricketer.
Thanks.
Played for the country for several years.
Nothing like an armchair commentator at the back, just barking out instructions at us. Nav, he's enjoying his dinner.
Well, it's just Tino being Tino. He can't wait in hand again.
Fumble again there. But I've got to say, Singapore, apart from the extras that they've bowled, I think they've been all right so far in terms of how they've approached this.
Yeah, it's been a good solid start from them. 14 of the first 15 deliveries. Well, the game is in the balance, you probably have to say. Not much that has happened in the first 15 deliveries. It's been quiet thus far.
Yeah, they've restricted the fireworks, haven't they, Singapore? But Zimbabwe don't need the fireworks either. Remember, the target is just 169. And in their previous game, they were going great guns at the start and then got choked. It was actually quite interesting. If you look at the Singapore innings today, it was a little bit similar to the Zimbabwe innings, the chasing innings of the other day against Singapore. Both teams have managed to bring it right back.
Right. Fairly quiet against Amjad Mahboob. That probably is okay for now. They know that they can take on some of the other bowlers. A very quiet start thus far from Zimbabwe.
Nice economy so far from Amjad. If you can finish this off here. Peter Moore's been pretty quiet so far. And I've just jinxed it, haven't I? He smashes it. High and handsome. That goes all the way. First 6 of this innings for Zimbabwe.
Long off for a massive. It's also the first boundary of this innings. And slowly the Zimbabwean opening pair are getting a move on.
No batsman likes to go for 6 anytime, but particularly off their last ball, especially when they've bowled pretty well up till then. That's where Amjad Mahboob finds himself. Singapore have been relatively tight till now. And Prakash continues. Well, he's not had the best of matches, but has he just brought it back here for Singapore?
Well, what started off pretty well for Zimbabwe, unfortunately, Janak Prakash comes in and stems the flow of runs because Zimbabwe have just lost their first wicket. Regis Chakabva will have to walk back to the dugout.
Aritra there with the catch. Such an important one. Tony Munyonga is coming in. That's an interesting one. Both teams mixing the order up a bit,
Well, yeah,
the batting order.
Well, again, it's exactly what you said. Why try to fix something that isn't broken? I'm a bit surprised, to be very honest. Sean Williams has been striking it well. He's been in such good form. And you'd probably want the captain to anchor this innings and see his team through and spend as much time as he can in the center. So I'm a bit surprised that Munyonga is out in the center. He hasn't obviously had too much of a hit. Oh, a little bit of a stare there from Janak Prakash.
He is fired up, isn't he, after that wicket?
Yeah, and Munyonga, well, he didn't back out. Yeah, I'm very surprised, to be honest. We saw Aritra Dutta come out at number 4 for Singapore when they tried to change things out a bit. That didn't work out too well. And here we go, Zimbabwe in a crucial game. Must win, you'd probably have to say, because the winner takes home the Winners' Cup. And here we have someone at number 3, hasn't batted all through the tournament. Pressure situation, crunch game, and he's out to face the music.
Well, there must certainly be some confidence in Munyonga to promote him. A tactic that we're not obviously aware of, but yeah, it is an interesting one. It's an eyebrow-raising move. Both teams have surprised us a little bit today.
Well, I saw a long chat between Sean Williams and the head coach Lal Chandratput during the innings break. This was probably what it was all about. Was the batting order? Oh, absolute peach from Janak Prakash. beats PJ Moore, all ends up. Well, he was lucky they didn't get some bat on it, but wouldn't have actually made a difference because Manpreet Singh didn't collect the ball very nicely there. What a delivery.
Heat of a delivery. Looking good, Janak Prakash.
Yeah, he has to be one of the standouts in this tournament. Coming through the ranks, Janak Prakash, exciting talent with the ball, like I said, and he can certainly hit it big. We saw 2 massive hits from his bat earlier this evening. So one to watch out for.
Yeah, there's been a real sea change with this Singapore lineup in the last few months. A lot of stalwarts have made way for the youngsters.
As I didn't realize that we still have people guessing as to who's with us this evening at the Indian Association. A left.
You could have kept that one back for a little bit more, couldn't you? Oh, I thought we were going to tease them a little longer. Hashtag, you've just given it away, I think. Far too much width than that, but they get away with it, Singapore. If you've just joined us for this final match of the Singapore Tri-Nations T20 International Series 2019, powered by Instagram, very warm welcome. Singapore playing Zimbabwe here at the IA ground, Indian Association. Sidhant is the new bowler in, replaces Amjad, the skipper. Another one of the youngsters, another man who delivered the goods in that crunch game against Zimbabwe. They'll want him to do the same now. Nice and full, that delivery. And listen, I think Singapore will be fairly happy with this.
I was just going to say, Shez, it's building up, isn't it? I think we're in a very exciting Thursday evening because 146 of 95, it's got to be Zimbabwe that'll have to take matters in their own hands now. And that man, Sean Williams, will have to lead that charge. Because at the moment, Singapore will be very happy with proceedings. 22 for 1 into the 5th over, a wild signaled. They'll be okay with that. They won't be complaining too much. Peter Moore has been quiet. He was aggressive 2 nights ago. He's happy to take his time today. But it's going to be very interesting to see how this game goes. Just get the feeling it's going down to the wire.
Well, you said Sean Williams has to lead from the front. He's not on the pitch at the moment. And we all thought he would be. Only Munyonga is out there instead. And he's facing now. Again, very full to Amjad, and that's frustrating. As far as Singapore are concerned, they scamper for a single.
Well, that's as good a cover drive as you will see all day. A good-looking conventional cover drive from Tony Munyonga. Unfortunately, straight to the mid-off fielder. Just a single, though. A little bit of a fumble.
Bowling very, very full at the moment. Slightly shorter this time. Again, they've kept it relatively tight. Singapore. Sharp from Singapore, but not so much the overthrows.
Just nobody backing up there, and Singapore get two comfortable runs.
Yeah, there's just been a couple of instances, I think, in both innings by the fielding side where I think they've just conceded a few silly singles. That one was, again, a wayward delivery, and it's been given the due treatment. It's only, I think, the second boundary we've seen so far.
Right, 31 for 1, just one delivery left in the fifth over. Peter Moor and Munyonga looking pretty decent here, but we're in for a fascinating game of cricket. It's a good battle between bat and ball thus far, and it has been the case for the last 15 overs. It was the first 10 overs of the game where it was all hammer and tongs from the batsmen. And which is why I was saying 166 might just seem to be a lot more difficult than we think it is.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that in a short while. First of all, 32 for 1 off 5, Zimbabwe. Change in overs, change in commentary. Nav is making way with Tina Mamoyo coming and joining us. It's Singapore, Zimbabwe out there, Singapore, Zimbabwe in here. This could be interesting.
Am I getting a greeting or?
I said hello. I welcomed you in, didn't I?
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Good to be
with you again.
He's a bit sensitive at the moment, a bit raw. I wonder if he's feeling the pressure at the moment.
Got a quick message for you from the producer in the back there. Just a reminder to switch off your microphone when it's in between overs.
Rookie mistake, really, isn't it, that one? It's got many a commentator into trouble. Not including this group, of course. But I'm reliably informed that my co-commentator has been heard on stump mics before during an international match. What were you saying? I'm just going to interrupt because I want to say, join this as well here, but this is quite the outfit. If you can get a lovely view of it. Beautiful. Oh, that was close. Talked about a legendary former international in our ranks today. I wasn't referring to Tino, just Tino. I mean, he's obviously a legend in many people's eyes. But there is someone else out there. And also, he's not Australian. I'll tell you what, we're getting a little off-camera commentary going on, and then Tino's correcting people as well. Fake news, hashtag fake news, I think has been trending. Keep us apart. I should be keeping him apart, actually. Oh, another court and bowl chance not taken. Vino Baskaran misses the opportunity. That's the batting card. At least we think that's a batting card. Sean Williams surely has to come in at 4. Sidhant again continues. It was well fielded. Janak. Throws himself about. He's really pumped up for this game as well. These two are working it away. Nothing flashy. Doesn't have to be flashy. I think that's key here. It is a T20, but it's not all about slap bang. Total's not massive. It's okay. It's defendable. It's an interesting total. It's one that Zimbabwe struggled with the other day against Singapore. Very similar to the previous total. You've been obviously in and around that Zimbabwe camp. What was the feelings on the night of the defeat and the day that followed, and what was the feeling coming into this game?
This time he gets it behind of that man and long off. Munyonga. Power in that shot. Ball was picked up.
Well, there's the man we're talking about. The legend, if you can spot him in that red t-shirt. It's Adam Gilchrist, of course. Great to have him here in Singapore. It's actually some of the kids with the school that he's come across with on a cricket tour. And he's come down to watch some international cricket as well. Great to have him here with us at the Indian Association. Yeah, he was the consummate team man. He was also one of the last true gentlemen, I think they say, wouldn't he? He'd walk. He was known for that. And yeah, just hugely popular, cut across all lines, really, this Adam Gilchrist. Nice juncture in this game at the moment. 51 for 1 Zimbabwe, chasing 168. Senador has come into the attack. That would have been a very, very good catch for Amjad, maybe back in the day.
Yeah, just wide of the man at mid-wicket. Well placed, though, by PJ Moore. Would have been difficult to get to that. Peter Moore is good at this. We saw him play this shot, second ball in the last innings, and he played, and he was looking dangerous. And that's a couple of balls ago, straight back past the bowler. And he's shown his quality as a cricketer, his ability to strike the ball well off the spinners. Adam Gilchrist impressed.
Bowled well so far. He's restricted Zimbabwe earlier on, but that's lovely adjustment of the feet. 4 runs. Lovely from Munyonga.
This is very nice.
These two putting on a nice little partnership there, and despite us being a little surprised, paying off at the moment for Zimbabwe. Of course, by that last over. Yeah, they've batted sensibly, haven't they, really? There's a partnership, almost 60. A quicker one. And that brings up 10 overs. Zimbabwe, 81 for 1.
Midway stage for Zimbabwe. $85 now required from just 60 balls. Sensible batting from here should get Zimbabwe across the line. The captain, who's been in sublime form, Sean Williams, still to come. Richmond, Mutumbami, Mutombodzi. But as was the case the last time these two teams met, important for Zimbabwe to make sure that those that are in at the crease bat through and get the team across the line. Don't leave it to the next man. At the end of that 10th over, Shazad made his way out the commentary box, and I've been joined by the Singapore Cricket Association Game Development Officer, Mr. Arjun Menon. Arjun, good evening. Thank you very much for spending some time with us in the box.
Yeah, good evening, Tino. Thanks for inviting me into this air-conditioned enclosure. It's been
a bit nicer than outside.
Yes. Walking around, trying to make sure everything is on song, being the venue manager for the series. But I also like to thank you for making your way to come and help us out in the series and commentating for us. Having expertise around has been great. Your knowledge of the Zimbabwean players with your past experience having played for Zimbabwe. So, thank you, Tino.
Absolutely. Nice to be out here, Arjun. Really nicely organized tournament. Wonderful people. I think the cherry on top has been wonderful cricket from all three teams. We talked about being the venue manager at the ground. Before we get on to that, we can just talk about your role at Singapore Cricket, how long you've been there, and what does a game development officer entail at work?
I must say that first of all, we operate in a very small staff. You'd find, we've got about 9 staff. So we tend to have our hands in different pies. But the game development officer was, when I was brought over in 2015, was more to try and get schools up, the schools numbers up again. Try having to deal with the Ministry of Education. That was not as fruitful as we thought, because the sporting structures here in Singapore, it's very academic based. Sports doesn't seem to get too much time. But moving on from there, I thought, okay, game development, trying to make sure that the structures for our representative players, we have our Premier League. Yes, he has a Premier League, but I thought maybe coming up with other environments, playing environments that test these players to be ready for international cricket. So we've come up with a few, like say, the Elite Player Series, the Emerging Player Series for age group cricket, T10 League, quite a few things that we've implemented since I've been here. So, yeah.
Very interesting. Tony Munyonga down the ground. Oh, nearly overrun that. Will be the single. Takes Zimbabwe to 87 for 1. You talk about having to work with the Ministry of Education and trying to get the school's numbers back up in terms of playing cricket. Have you managed to do that, or do you feel you can still continue to do so?
Yeah. Although I'm Singaporean and I've grown up here, 15 years, came back, the sporting structure changed a lot. From my time, sports was a big thing growing up in the 80s through the 90s. But things have changed a lot in Singapore. So we find a lot of indoor sports are trying to getting steam. New age sports like floorball. There's a new sport called chukball. These are things that schools are tending to pick up now, because first of all, they're played indoors, and I guess the facilitation doesn't require much, because cricket, it requires so much just to play. The facilitation alone in cricket in Singapore, which is quite land scarce, it can be a bit of an issue. So we find a lot of schools trying to drift away from these. Football is still big. Rugby's probably taken a hit in the last few years. A lot of traditional sports, I suppose. There are only 6 schools at the moment playing cricket locally. Local schools. There are international schools that play cricket as well. So since dealing with them for about 1.5 years, we thought we would come up with other concepts of trying to promote the game. So we have something called the Community Outreach Program, which we're trying to work with community centers in Singapore to try and see if we can set up hubs there. And it's still a work in progress. We need a bit more staffing. It's been set. The country's been zoned up, but it's still a work in progress. Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, June, to hear the work that you are doing, Singapore Cricket Association is doing to try and grow the game. I'm sure players like this man on screen have brought a wealth of experience playing overseas and Big Bash League and rubbing shoulders with some of the other top cricketers around the world, something valuable to bring back into the team. And then some of those senior players can impart onto children in the country.
Yeah, it's been interesting having someone like Tim on board, being a born Australian. I used to, he came through my emerging warrior program. I was looking after. He played for Claremont Netlands, and he was my under-14 program. And there were likes of not Sean Marsh, but Mitch Marsh, and a few others who are playing for WA now.
Back to live action. Tim David taking over at the far end. First delivery just wide down the leg side. It'll be interesting to see PJ Moore's approach to him. We've seen that he likes to take on the spinners. Scores well, straight back over their heads. Wide of long on, ball turning into him. It'll be very interesting to see how this will pan out. Well bowled, quick and flat. Back of a length, not allowing him to get under that one, PJ Moore.
It was interesting seeing PJ Moore bat earlier, being quite cautious, but he's picked up pretty well. Strike rate's looking pretty decent from how it started. End of the day, he's structuring his innings, and let's see. This could be the key to both these boys bringing it home.
Absolutely. I'm impressed by this partnership because both of these boys have had limited opportunity with the bat. Tony Munyonga was part of the squad that travelled down from Bangladesh, played a couple of games there, didn't get an opportunity to bat. Only faced one ball in the last encounter between these two. The last of the innings needed to get a 6. Didn't get bat on ball. And PJ Moore just faced a few deliveries the other evening against Nepal. So I'm just looking at their contributions, or another wide from Tim trying to get that ball quickly through to PJ Moore, not giving it some air. PJ 40 from 34 deliveries, 35 from 27 for Tony Munyonga. Good strike rates and a good partnership. You just want to see them push through a little bit longer. I'm not sure if you listened to the toss, but Sean Williams spoke about when we get into positions to win the game, he felt he got into that position twice. And especially in the game against Singapore, didn't carry it through, and he felt that's where Zimbabwe lost the game. Diving effort, unfortunately, just parrying the ball away from him won't allow Zimbabwe to get a single. So other than those 3 wides that he's delivered in the over, it's been pretty decent, just a couple of singles. Zimbabwe will want a boundary in one of these last 2 deliveries just to make the over a good one. Tony Munyonga swings, man back, and he's put it down. He had a couple of grabs at it. Sidhant, and unfortunately, the momentum he had, I think, coming in, didn't manage to steady himself, and that ball dropping out. Disappointment. Short. Oh, PJ Moore will feel he was missed out. He's got through the over all right, just 6 runs from it. Zimbabwe, 93 for 1 after 12. 93 for 1, Zimbabwe, after 12 overs. Sidhant, the man who put down the opportunity in the last over, will look to make amends as he carries on from the pavilion end. Tony Munyonga, I think that will be signalled leg by. If you're just joining us for this live feed of the Interim Tri-Series from Singapore, we're at the Indian Association Cricket Ground, and in the commentary box we've been joined by Mr. Arjun Menon, who's the Game Development Officer for the Singapore Cricket Association. Arjun, just going back to our conversation, you mentioned the T10 League, you have the Emerging Players Series, you have the Elite Players Series. If you can just give the viewers a little bit of information on what that is and how you run those tournaments.
Well, just first of all, let you know why we thought that we needed to start that is because we had the old ICC World Cricket League Division 3 that was played for, which is a qualification pathway for 50-over cricket. And in 2015, we made it up to Division 3, didn't progress from there. 2017, went to Uganda and came in third again. You have to be top 2 to get through. And then last year, we went to Oman again. We finished just missing out again. I felt that was because maybe our playing environment was not testing us enough. I think it was good enough to take us from Division 6 to Division 3. But once we got there, we saw that teams like Uganda especially, we came up against the Kenyans, we had Oman, and realized it was a big step ahead. So what I did was sitting down with our CEO, Saad, and saying, look, why don't we just make 3 teams of the best 39 players in Singapore who can represent Singapore, and some age group players under 19s, put them across 3 teams and let them play each other. So it becomes a bit of our filtering system and testing them. And to make up for the guys, the players that we don't have in our environment, like fast bowling is an area we struggled for a while. Of course, we've got youngsters coming through the system now. So what I did was actually use my contacts around the cricket world and got in Zimbabweans, a Pakistani fast bowler. We had a bloke from England who came to play who would clock 135 to 140. The Pakistani was clicking 140 easily. So it just sort of increased the playing environment. So now I had left-arm spinners across all teams, leg spinners across all teams. So it was all quite evenly spread. So it kind of tested these guys, and it was good competitive cricket. So the whole idea of that was just simply creating another filter, which would test them.
In the air, PJ Moore. Oh, and it's been put down again. Janak Prakash won't be happy. Miscommunication, I think, between him and Surendra. But PJ Moore not getting all of that. It's gone high. And just there, I think the communication could have been a little bit better. Another opportunity put down by Singapore. 2 in 2 overs. Will they live to rue these opportunities? Bang. Is that going to go all the way? And I think it does. Tony Munyonga is really starting to get a move on now. Umpire signals 6.
And how many times do you see that happen? Next ball, out of the park. So yeah, it's about taking these chances. 2 youngsters there, Janak and Sidhant, putting down catches, which most days they would take. Yeah, I guess, it's all about pressure sometimes. But there you go. Almost dropped my mic just then when I saw that catch go down. So, yeah. But yeah, unfortunate, but it's part of the game.
Looking to heave that over the onside again. Tony Munyonga this time along the ground. And a good over for Zimbabwe. 13 from it. End of the 13th. 105 for 1. Arjun, I want to move away a little bit from the structure of SCA and talk about competitions like this. You've obviously qualified for the World T20 qualifiers, which are next month in the UAE. Congratulations for that. Talk about the lead up to that tournament, qualifying for it, and then the preparations that you're going through at the moment for that tournament.
19, I had the series for its third edition, and I actually expanded that to a 50-over format and a T20 format, and went through for 6 weeks. So that I felt that actually helped a lot because it was constant high intensity cricket over a long period of time. We had three players from Uganda here, the captain of Uganda, Roger Mukasa, Charles Waiswa, Kenneth Waiswa, who were really good cricketers. We had Tafara Chingwara, we had, that's actually making its way. Will that be out? Yes, it will be. Great wicket, Tino. I think something that was much needed.
Absolutely. Good catch by Tim David. Looking to go over the onside again, Tony Munyonga. This time getting a thick outside edge. And calling for the ball himself, Timothy David. Not wanting to allow anybody else to get there. And a good catch in the end. So it's been a good innings from young Tony Munyonga. 44 from 33. He got 105 for 2 now, Zimbabwe. We can carry on, Arjun, with that conversation.
Yeah, so I think that actually helped a lot. And a lot of the players that were identified through that system were tested further. And some of them put up really good stats, either with the ball or the bat and fielding. A lot of things started to get in place. And I think when we hosted the qualifier in July, that actually helped a lot because we had played here so much that we knew our environment. And obviously, and then we had the luck of finally convincing Tim to come along and join us because he was, for the last 2 years, he was trying to make a name for himself in Australia and hopefully try and get an Australian contract. He did play for the Perth Scorchers, but he finally decided, yep, you know what, now that we have T20I status, why not? That's, your contributions to Singapore will be recognized, and here he is. So yeah, it's been a mixture of both, and here we are.
And you can see his level of maturity in his performances. I hadn't seen a lot of him myself, but contributing with the bat, not so much with the ball, but is happy to take his place and bowl his 2 or 3 overs in the innings when he has to. And what's particularly stuck out for me is the manner in which he goes about his batting innings. Good shot from PJ Moore. Nobody back on the offside boundary, taking advantage of that gap. The innings he's played, he's been the glue in the innings for Singapore, and then as he's batted a little while, starts to be explosive.
Yeah, like the club system playing for Western Australia. I'm very used to. I was very used to seeing what happened there. I played there for a few years, and then worked for the WACA, looking after clubs. I know what the club structure is all about. They're very big on club culture, and I can see that with Tim coming into this team. It's actually rubbed off on the others. A very big team man, plays his cricket hard. Great chap off the field, and a brilliant cricketer, really. So.
Another single to the total. Zimbabwe now 110 for 2. Sean Williams, a man who's been in good form, comes to the crease to face his first delivery. Replaces Tony Munyonga. 58 Zimbabwe require from 39 balls. And obviously talking about the preparations now, Arjun, for the World T20 next month, level that you've not been at yet. And this tournament is something that the Singapore Cricket Association has put together especially for that. How difficult was it to engage teams? Lots of cricket going on. I understand Nepal, who were here, left today to go elsewhere. Zimbabwe were in Bangladesh prior to this. How difficult was it for the SCA to get these teams together to get this going? And how good has been the support in terms of fans who have come out in their numbers in the last couple of innings and from the corporates?
Well, a bit of a surprise for many in the cricketing world. Nepal was the highest ranked side at 11 when they were playing that, when they lost to us. So prior to that, a lot of countries had already had bilateral dealings with Nepal, and it's not a good shot. Just fielded for one. But when we qualified, the likes of Oman, that's where Nepal are heading off to now. That was actually organized about 2.5 months ago, thinking that Nepal would qualify. So there they are playing against Ireland, Netherlands, Hong Kong, and Oman over there. And there were many other countries who expected to qualify who had already organized bilaterals. So I thought, you know what, I need a window, found a window, spoke to Nepal again and said, listen, can we have you back? And there was a lot of meaning attached to that. Nepal wanted to come back because they wanted to beat us. which they have twice in this tournament, so they've sort of taken some revenge. So once I had Nepal in hand, it was a bit easier to negotiate with other boards around the world. Took a punt on Zimbabwe and amongst others. But I really wanted Zimbabwe here because I remember in '99, I spoke to you about this, Tino, when I was watching them play against the West Indies and India here and seeing ourselves hosting, but we're not really involved. This time it's just a dream of mine to see this happen because here we are playing against Zimbabwe and having beaten them the other day was such a big thing for us. And I think this is going to lead up very well for our players. The confidence levels now thinking, okay, we're going to the qualifiers, but we gave Nepal a bit of a run and now we're going to be...
We beat a full member.
Full member.
And then you can see the difference in the spring in the step and the attitude of the cricketers. And that's why I think such tournaments are so important for up-and-coming nations to be able to brush shoulders with the top teams, beat the top teams as Singapore did in that first encounter, looking good again today, and just being able to gauge yourselves at international level. Janak Prakash back into the attack from the clubhouse end, low full toss. That will just be the one, and that'll take PJ Moore to 50. 50 from 43 deliveries. It's been a good innings, coming in, opening up the innings, something that he doesn't normally do in this version of the game. Bided his time early on in the innings, but made sure that he's batted through this period. Him and Sean Williams now need to take the team forward.
Yeah, I do feel there's always a role for sort of an anchor, the way that Moore plays, PJ Moore plays. Done a great job. Strike rate's decent. Runs, singles quickly and hard. So I think he just keeps one end ticking over and then takes his chances with balls he feels can put away. Yeah, been a bit lucky with one that drop catch. But he's doing a job there. So if he stays to the end, and somebody like Sean can probably play with a bit more freedom as well.
Arjun, you've mentioned in our little conversation your T10, your Emerging Player Series, your Elite Player Series, which you said you've expanded to 6 weeks this year. These kind of tournaments that you're hosting, and I'm sure that we can expect more of these. All this tells me one thing, that you need money. Was this something that the Singapore Cricket Association has funded themselves, or have you had some corporates that have come on board? Is government in support?
We've had support from various... The bulk of the funding. We have some from Sports Singapore, which is our sports ministry. Of late, they've taken a bit more notice what cricket's all about, having been now ranked 21 in the world for T20 and 23 and 50 overs. So yes, it's still probably not enough in a sense. Yes, corporates have been showing interest, maybe not putting in the amount we want just yet, but if we can show them tournaments like this and what we've actually achieved in beating Zimbabwe. Results. I do feel that this is the viewership that's been... I remember Singapore and Nepal playing in that qualifier, and about 3 million people watching that live feed because of the Nepalese contingents. But it's just things like this. We just need to let them know that, cricket's here to stay. We have had a long history. So, so basically, it will improve. I think this tournament is going to be a trailblazer for that.
Well, Arjun, it's been good having you in the box, giving us your insights on your role at Singapore Cricket Association, exactly what you're trying to achieve, how you've managed to get the team to be in a competition to qualify for the World T20 qualifier, the hosting of this tournament, and just in general, the structures that Singapore Cricket Association have put together to try and take the game forward. We wish you all the best, and in particular, in that World T20 qualifier next month in the UAE.
Thanks very much, Tino, for having me, and I think I'll hand you back to the pros right now. Thank you so much.
Not a problem, Arjun. Thanks for your time. All right, picking up on the action again, 14.4 overs gone. Been a decent-ish over thus far from Janak Prakash. 6 runs from it with a couple of balls to go. And Zimbabwe requiring 50 now from the remaining 32 deliveries in the innings. Peter Moore, been good, circumspect in the beginning, and just in the last couple of overs, starting to flourish just a little bit. Outside edge, and despair for Janak Prakash. Wouldn't have been a chance to the keeper. I think the despair is more of, it's just gone past him for a boundary. That's really unfortunate. Good Yorker. And it's just skidded off down to the boundary. Very difficult for the wicketkeeper. 122 for 2 now. Zimbabwe. 46 required. Last ball of the 15th. Second last ball of the 15th. Wide from Janak Prakash. Not happy with himself, I'm sure. A couple of drop chances in the last 3 or 4 overs. One of them, PJ Moore. It was Janak Prakash himself who dropped him. Sidhant dropping Tony Munyonga, who eventually went for 44. Firmly struck down the ground. Valiant effort. Chandramohan diving to his left. And another boundary for PJ Moore and Zimbabwe. It's gone straight towards him. Very difficult height, but he really should have got something behind that. 15 overs gone, 127 for 2. When you come back in the commentary box, we're going to have a change. It's going to be Navneet Krishna, joined by Adrian Abraham.
Right, we're back for the final 5 overs of the Singapore Tri-Nations T20I, brought to you by Instagram, and we're going down to the wire. 41 required in the final 5 for Zimbabwe to win this game, and also going on to leading the points table and taking the Winners' Cup as well, joined by Adrian Abraham. Adrian, this has been a very mature chase from the Zimbabwean team.
It has, and by far the man of the tournament so far, Sean Williams, the Zimbabwean captain, has just joined Peter Moore out there. He's been batting responsibly. A couple of big shots, but really timing his innings well. You see another dot.
A striking feature of this chase has been the fact that they've paced their innings very well. They started off pretty slowly, and they didn't mind taking their time early on. When the Singapore bowlers were very accurate, they got their radar right from the get-go. But after the first 6-7 overs, in fact, after the power play, Peter Moore has obviously opened up, and he got good support in the form of Munyonga. And now you probably have to say it's Zimbabwe's game to win.
It's that age-old saying, doesn't it? Catches win matches, and that's huge.
Well, there's someone in the boundary line there. Unfortunately, he can't do much, and that'll sail over the square boundary. 6 runs, and Zimbabwe are inching closer and closer, drifting down the leg side on that occasion.
Yes, but we've seen PJ Moore strike them big. Loves taking the aerial route. Just as I was mentioning before, catches win matches, and Singapore have been guilty of dropping quite a few. 2 straightforward chances that should have been taken.
I was going to say 2, but he dropped one in the previous over as well at long on that should have been taken from Chandramohan.
He did, and that was right in front of us. Well, difficult catch, but you would expect him to take that. It was a tough chance, but they need to get rid of PJ. He's striking them now. I mean, he's the man now that is captain to take Zimbabwe home.
Shot this time, and he swats it past. It's Chandramohan once again who's made his way across the field all the way to the far end at long off, and he cuts it down to just a single. 2 very different type of innings we've seen, Adrian. In the first innings, we saw the batsmen dominate the first half, and then runs dried up completely. Whoa, fantastic playing through the line. And Peter Moore is on fire here in the final game. And he's striking it quite outstandingly. Another boundary down the ground.
Exceptional hitting by PJ Moore. Moves to 69 now. Zimbabwe 140 for 2 after 16.
Right, just 28 required in the final 4 overs. I was mentioning to Shehzad earlier on, a bit surprised that Munyonga came on to bat at number 3 when it was Sean Williams who did that consistently all through the innings, and it worked well for Zimbabwe. But to our surprise, he's grabbed his opportunity with 2 hands, because 44 of 33 in a crunch game, considering that he was his first outing in the centre, tick innings from Munyonga.
Yeah, he batted brilliantly, and you look at the other half of the coin when Singapore tried to bring Aritra Dutta at edge. Aritra Dutta to a position ahead of Manpreet Singh and Janak Prakash, and it didn't work out for them at all, you know. So it can go both ways. Yeah, Munyonga played really well.